de una experiencia que ella ha sufrido en carne propia, y dice: la sociedad necesita que las mujeres ocupen más lugares en los sistemas de decisión y en los sectores empresariales. Siempre tenemos que rendir doble examen. Primero, demostrar que porque somos mujeres no somos idiotas. Y en segundo lugar, que tiene que rendir cualquiera. Lo cuenta de su experiencia personal en este aspecto específico de la participación de la mujer en la política. Frases como la de Laura Chinchilla, en Costa Rica, que dice: ha valido la pena el costo que he tenido que pagar para abrir campo a las mujeres. Tomamos casos de 3 mujeres reelectas, mujeres que tal vez no se fueron bien ponderadas en su gobierno, pero nos dejan experiencia en los éxitos y en los fracasos, en las satisfacciones y en las frustraciones. Y de eso se trata, de compartir experiencias, de poder conocer y aprender del otro. Eso es lo que trataremos de vivir en estos días. Pero tampoco podemos irnos de este encuentro. Ustedes verán unas lindas estructuras que nos van a acompañar durante el evento, y el origami de Eduardo Achach, en Cartagena. Esas estructuras que ustedes ven han sido construidas por los participantes, con pequeñas hojitas de papel, unificaron columnas a partir de la unión, los objetivos comunes, de fundar a la sociedad detrás de los mismos objetivos, logran construir bases sólidas, porque eso que ustedes ven ahí, que son columnas de papel con vidrio, nos dio un poco de miedo, debo decirles, pero nos hemos parado el gobernador, Juan Carlos ahí, mi persona, distintos consultores, resiste el papel como columna, porque la unión hace la fuerza, y cuando los pueblos, las sociedades están unidas en objetivos comunes en políticas de Estado, los resultados, no tengan ninguna duda, que son capitalizados por el pueblo, son capitalizados por la sociedad. Por eso tendremos en el sector de la Expo Comunicación Política una escultura de 2,40 metros de altura, hecha en columnas de papel, donde se ha denominado la escultura de la paz. Y cada uno de ustedes tendrán papeles de distintos colores para no crear identificación partidaria, para no pensar que es ni a favor ni en contra de nadie, sino que es a favor de la paz y los procesos de paz en Latinoamérica. Y cada uno de nosotros tendremos la posibilidad de dejar un legado en esta cumbre, de dejar nuestra idea de paz, nuestra idea de institucionalidad, nuestra idea de fortalecimiento de la democracia, en este sexto encuentro aquí en México. Y todos esos mensajes de cada uno de ustedes serán compilados. Tendremos en el próximo evento de República Dominicana nuestra visión sobre lo que significa la paz, vista desde la política, desde los consultores y de nuestro pequeño aporte, nuestro granito de arena que vamos a dejar en esta visita, en este evento aquí en México, de nuestro mensaje de paz, nuestro mensaje de institucionalidad y de entender que la política
que dijo, no sé,
son problemas. Hay que tener hombres y mujeres capacitados para solucionar esos problemas, para ayudar a sus problemas. Así que el mundo de la paz tiene que hablar a partir de este momento para que cada uno pueda dejar su mensaje en la Expo.
Ya no me gusta tanto.
Quisiera decirles a todos ustedes y compartir nuestra visión como organización en términos de comunicación y marketing político. En un evento, en una cumbre mundial de comunicación y marketing político, nuestro mensaje que queremos compartir con ustedes, hombres y mujeres de la política, del periodismo, de la academia, es que para hablar de comunicación y marketing político, primero debemos hablar de política. No existe la comunicación y el marketing político si no es sustentado en la política. Primero viene la política y después viene la comunicación y el marketing. En los casos en que esto ha sido al revés, el único objetivo de participar en política ha sido campañas marketineras de comunicación, vacías de contenido, vacías de ideales para transformar sociedades que han sufrido las sociedades. Entonces, quiero reivindicar este tipo de encuentros de un público altamente calificado de la política, es que entendemos y comprendemos que la comunicación política, el marketing político y la consultoría política debe darle valor emocional, debe darle cercanía a la ciudadanía, debe darle diálogo, debe darle implicancia, empatía, debe darle que la agenda de la política sea la agenda de la ciudadanía y no parezca que la ciudadanía va por un lado y los problemas de los políticos van por otro. Nuestro gran objetivo de este punto de encuentro, y las conferencias, los consultores, y debo agradecerle a los más de 200 consultores que nos acompañan, porque la cumbre es producto de que hoy ellos estén acá acompañándonos y compartiendo su conocimiento, haciéndolo público con todos ustedes, con lo cual creo que los grandes protagonistas, además de ustedes, son cada uno de los consultores que vienen a compartir su conocimiento con ustedes, para que les pido un fuerte aplauso a tomar Por eso no quiero extenderme más para no irnos de los horarios pautados y que vamos a tener nuestra primera conferencia magistral de apertura de las dos que tendremos en este primer bloque. Lo importante es que tenemos un bloque de conferencias magistrales inaugurales y de apertura, que podamos compartirlo, pero sí dejarles esta sensación, a disfrutarlo, a vivirlo con intensidad, a generar acciones de networking. Tendremos y estaremos internados aquí adentro durante 3 días, para compartirlo juntos, para estar a disposición al servicio de ustedes. Y solamente me resta decirles a las autoridades que nos acompañan, a los consultores, a los asistentes, a los periodistas, y sobre todo a la sociedad mexicana que nos ha recibido de una manera maravillosa. Gracias de disfrutar 3 días intensos de comunicación política, reivindicando la política y reivindicando nuestro mundo de la paz, nuestro mensaje de paz para México, o desde México para toda Latinoamérica. Muchas gracias.
Agradecemos a Daniel Boscus su participación en este evento inaugural de la 6ª Cumbre Mundial de Comunicación Política. Con estas palabras queda formalmente inaugurada esta 6ª Cumbre Mundial de Comunicación Política, y a continuación daremos paso a las conferencias magistrales de apertura. La primera de ellas estará a cargo de Ann Liston, Estados Unidos. Ann tiene 20 años de experiencia en consultoría de campañas de alto nivel. Ha tenido bajo su responsabilidad el entrenamiento de mujeres en política en Estados Unidos y otros países del mundo bajo el programa de Mujeres y Políticas Públicas de la Universidad de Harvard. Actualmente es parte de la firma Allen St. Liston, con sede en Chicago. En unos momentos más contaremos con la presencia de Ann Liston en esta primera conferencia magistral de apertura de la 6ª Cumbre Mundial de Comunicación Política. Por favor, adelante.
Me gusta romper los protocolos, vamos a probar el micrófono. Decirles que la conferencia inaugural de Liston será en idioma inglés. Los que deseen retirar el sistema de traducción tienen disponible. Los que entiendan, comprendan que diga inglés, no es necesario, pero sepan que tienen disponible para retirar el sistema de traducción aquí mismo en el hotel, en la parte de afuera.
Lo tenemos que ir por el sistema de traducción. En la parte de acá. ¿Buscas? ¿Cómo?
Vamos.
Sí, no, eso no.
Y ahí lo sabemos. ¿Es una producción?
Sí, fíjese, los que tenemos para jugar. No te lo traen. A ver quién se va a quedar.
Sí.
Es más, dejas tu bolsa.
Sí, del sobaco.
¿Quién va? Oye, pero ¿quién se queda? No se lo sientan. Vayan rápido. Ahí te está bien. Mira, chico, ¿dónde eres tú?
10-4.
Acá, aquí. ¿Desayunaron? ¿Desayunaron? Sí.
Gracias de nueva cuenta por su atención. Estamos por comenzar la primera conferencia magistral. Muchas gracias a las personas que permanecen en esta sala y damos la bienvenida a Ann Liston. De nueva cuenta me permito leer su perfil. Ann Liston tiene 20 años de experiencia en consultoría de campañas de alto nivel. Ha tenido bajo su responsabilidad el entrenamiento de mujeres en política en Estados Unidos y otros países del mundo, bajo el programa de Mujeres y Política Pública de la Universidad de Harvard. Ella actualmente es parte de la firma ATC Liston con sede en Chicago. Demos la bienvenida a Ann Liston.
Disculpe, necesitamos la identificación.
Buenos días. Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Ah, good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Does everyone speak English? Or you have your headset? Yes?
Yes.
So I have a question for all of you. What are all of you doing here? How did we all get here? What got us involved in politics in the very beginning? Do you remember? Do you remember what got you involved? What got you interested in political campaigns? Was it the issues? Were the issues important to you? Was it the political party that you had to work for? Was it a particular cause, the environment, education? What got you interested in being a political professional? I'll tell you a very quick story about how I got involved. It was 1990. I was in Chicago. There were 3 very important reasons that I got involved in political campaigns. Reasons I felt passionate about, reasons that were very personal to me. Those 3 reasons were beer, boys, and pizza, right? I was a young girl who had just graduated from college, and in Chicago, in political campaigns, there was lots of beer, lots of cerveza, lots of cute boys, and plenty of pizza. Why wouldn't I get involved? So things have changed. 25 years later, here I still am. But I'm no longer that interested in beer. I kind of like wine instead. And I'm now married, so those cute boys are sort of gone. But I still like a good piece of pizza. Those were my reasons for getting involved. They were the reasons that I felt passionate about. I'm sure you all have your various reasons for getting involved in politics in the very beginning. And I'm sure all of you in some way, just like I do today, find this work still rewarding and fulfilling. But for me, after 25 years, after maturing just a bit, after moving beyond the beer and the boys and the pizza, I had to find other reasons to continue to stay involved. And so as I grew up, the issues became much more important to me, right? I started believing in the fight for middle-class folks versus fighting for the millionaires. And fighting for union representation and the right for working men and women to collectively bargain. And providing workers with a decent living wage, that became very important to me as I grew up. Supporting higher ethical standards and transparency in government, that became really important to me. Protecting the rights of women and children, I feel passionate about. And looking out for the environment. All of these things became much more important to me as I grew up. Another reason I've stayed involved in politics is that I really enjoy helping the next generation of young women and girls become political professionals and grow up to someday run for office or become someone like me, a political professional that works behind the scenes. In the United States, we often tell our children, you can be anything you want to be. Have you heard that? We always tell these kids in the US. I believe that, but I also believe that there's a bit of a problem in the US, that it is much more difficult to be what you cannot see, right? And so part of my job, I believe, is to make our government bodies look more like America, look more Black and white and Asian and Hispanic and gay and straight and men and women, old and young, and more girls. More girls. I think things are changing in the US. I know they're changing here in Latin America, but I still believe we have a long road to equality. Things are definitely changing here, and I spent a little time researching a little bit more about Latin America and where women are in elected bodies in all of your governments. Change is happening in Latin America, and more women are becoming elected and re-elected across this region. Some candidates are even using the rationale that they are a woman as the rationale for why they should be elected. I want to show you just one piece of communication that Josefina Velasquez Montes, originally from Mexico City, recently aired as an advertising campaign for her presidency.
Que no te falte valor, que nadie te falte al respeto. Este pacto es de mujer a mujer. Yo pacto contigo para que nadie te maltrate, para que tengas igualdad en ingresos y oportunidades. Yo pacto contigo para que te desarrolles en libertad, atender tu salud, tu trabajo, tu familia. Desde el primer momento en que yo sea presidenta, ser mujer en México va a ser muy diferente.
Josefina, presidenta.
Did any of you see that ad? Yes. But look, women leaders in Latin America, nothing new. They've been around a long time. I'll show you one in just a second. Oh, let's go back. There she is, Lady Cabell. You all remember Lady Cabell, of course, right? Did you see her recent ad? This is the ancient Mayan queen, Lady Cabell, from what is today known as the northern Guatemalan area. She was an interesting woman. Cabell was known as the Holy Snake Lady, a warrior queen, and she was considered the great ruler of the late Classic period. She ruled with her husband for over 20 years. But the archaeologists tell us that she ruled above her husband, and that she was the boss. She looks like the boss lady, doesn't she? And then, of course, there was Eva Perón from the 1950s, right? The wife of Argentinian President Juan Perón. She was a champion of the working class and of the working poor. She was encouraged to run for vice president in 1951, and of course, unfortunately, had to resign her candidacy due to cancer and passed away at the early age of 33. While she was never elected, she was given a state funeral. So women leaders are not new to Latin America. Let's click in. Latin America has the third of the world's female presidents right now, and the highest percentage of female members of parliament than any other region, and it's growing. So something is going on here in Latin America that, of course, isn't happening in the US and not happening in many places around the globe. But let's take a look at some of the reasons that I think we have so many women active in politics here in Latin America. You all know about the quota laws, and I think this is the most influential factor in involving more women in the process. Roughly 1 in 4 members of all elected bodies right now in Latin America are women because of the quota law. If you compare that to the United States, we have only 18% of women in the House of Representatives and only 20% in the United States Senate. But of course, we don't have the quota laws. Critics of this quota law will say that it's not really fair, that we're promoting women based on their gender and not on their merits, right? Others would say that quota law has been the best thing to level the playing field. I think it's a little of both. I think you all would agree. There's modernization, right? Latin America is moving away from many of these military dictatorships and into a more democratic process. The democratic process is involving more participation, and of course, more women are getting involved. There's more interest in politics nowadays, and women see politics as a vehicle for change, right? Change for their own family life and their own life, change for their neighbors, and change for their fellow countrymen. And so they're getting more involved. And I think that there's a shift in public opinion. People are more comfortable nowadays with having women elected officials. The Gallup poll recently did a study of Latin American countries, and voters said, over 90% of voters said that they would approve and vote for a qualified female president. But more work still needs to be done. We are far from finished with our job. There is, of course, here in Latin America, in the United States, and I think all around the globe, what I call the Old Boys Network. Do you know about the Old Boys Network? Does that still exist here? No? You don't have the Old Boys Network? No, it's all gone. In the US, I call that the male, pale, and stale caucus, right? That's still around, and women still have to sort of work against that. The parties are still ruling here, right? Individuals aren't running for office, but parties are running. And so sometimes political parties often will include women that might not shake up the status quo of a political party. Positions of power in parliament are still hard for women to reach. Even when they're in the political process and in parties, it's still hard to get into those positions. Sexism, cultural, and political barriers still exist, as well as economic and educational barriers. But if you ask elected officials, elected women within parties in Latin America, they will tell you sexism is the #1 reason that they are held back, and there is a barrier still to their growth in political power. So why is it important for women to be elected to office? Do we really need them? Is it really something we need to work towards? Involving more women in the political process? Let's take a look. We're going to move to the next slide. Great. First reason we need more women in the political process. The truth is, we're over 50% of the population, right? So our elected bodies should look more like our countries, more like 50% of the representation of our countries. Women's issues are all of our issues. Education and economic development, job creation, healthcare, infrastructure. These are all issues that are important to voters, and they're also women's issues. Women are seen as better coalition builders. You all know the art of compromise. Women are typically known to get to the art of compromise and get to a solution faster than their male counterparts oftentimes. And women are seen as more trusting, right? That they operate, sometimes people would say, with a higher ethical standard than many of their male counterparts. Nothing against all you wonderful men, but women are often seen as more ethically less corrupt. And women are seen as natural outsiders of the political process. And oftentimes, when folks are trying to create change within government, change coming from the outside rather than the inside is often better. So let's just look. There are many female elections in Latin America. We only really have time for me to review 2. I thought we'd do 2 in Latin America, 2 from the United States. So I picked one of my favorites, Michelle Bachelet. Many of you know her. Chile's president. Yeah? Yes. A little bit about President Bachelet. Michelle got her start in the opposition movement against dictator Pinochet. She was a medical student at the University of Chile, and she was arrested and tortured by the Pinochet regime. She was exiled in 1975, and upon her return, she became Minister of Health, and then the first woman to become Minister of Defense. She became so popular within her ruling party that they decided to run her for president in order to maintain their power. And in 2006, Michelle Bachelet became Chile's first female elected president and the first female in South America to win a presidential election without gaining that position through her marriage. She served until 2010, then in 2013, she ran again. She was reelected with 62% of the vote, this time beating another woman who ran against her. Let's watch a little of her advertising.
El Chile con el que sueño es de verdad un Chile de todos. Y eso incluye a quienes puedan sentir que tenemos diferencias. Porque también estamos pensando en un Chile para ellos. El Chile que queremos es uno que siga creciendo económicamente, pero que no crezca movido solo por la ambición. Queremos un Chile que se mueva por el corazón.
Hay que hacer una campaña.
Todos los chilenos, en medio de la desigualdad, tenemos sueños, metas y esperanzas. Hacer posible los sueños de todos es algo que podemos lograr. Solo necesitamos trabajar juntos, con generosidad, como la nación que somos. Los invito, sin bandos, sin descanso y sin que nadie quede fuera, a sentir orgullo, a sentir lo increíble que es ser parte de un país que tiene más y mejores cosas para todos sus habitantes. Los invito a que la estrella que lleva nuestra bandera brille más que nunca, para que la vea todo el mundo.
Chile de todos.
You like that? That had a nice emotional connection. Something you could vote for, yes? Yes, I do see that. Lots of the women with their hair, yeah, I like her too. Let's look at our next candidate, Argentinian President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. Yeah? Let's take a look at her. There she is. Also known as Cia, okay? The 52nd and current president of Argentina, the widow of former President Néstor Kirchner, the second woman to serve as president, and the first directly elected female president, and the first woman re-elected in Argentina. A lawyer, elected to the legislature. She was First Lady from 2003 to 2007. She was chosen as the Front for Victory presidential candidate in 2007. She gained 54% of the vote, a 22nd lead over her nearest rival, avoiding runoff. She was re-elected to a second term in the first round in October of 2011 with 54% of the vote, which is amazing. That is 37% over the next candidate. Let's look at some of her advertising.
Yo a veces me pregunto de dónde, de qué lugar nuestros corazones sacaron fuerzas para renacer como país, para que pasen de decirnos lo que teníamos que hacer a que nos pregunten cómo lo hicimos, para ser un país que en vez de perder la memoria de un golpe la recuperamos para siempre. ¿Qué hicimos para que los que se fueron hoy quieran volver? ¿De dónde sacamos tanta fuerza para que hoy los empresarios emprendan, productores produzcan, los trabajadores tengan trabajo y los chicos futuro? Me gusta ver que los jóvenes se hagan respetar y que los mayores vuelvan a ser respetados. Me gusta ver a los científicos investigando, a los artistas actuando y a las amas de casa dando y recibiendo. Quiero que sigamos cosechando lo que sembramos. Quiero ver la industria argentina en muchos productos más. Cada vez me pregunto de dónde sacamos tanta fuerza, miro a un argentino o a una argentina a los ojos y lo entiendo todo. Es la fuerza del amor, es la fuerza de un país, de un pueblo, es la fuerza de 40 millones de almas y corazones. Es toda esa fuerza.
Frente Parlamentario, lista 131, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, Presidenta de la Nación, a Maduro, Vicepresidente.
Frente Parlamentario, lista 132, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, Presidenta de la Nación, a Maduro, Vicepresidente. Frente Parlamentario, lista 133, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, Presidenta de la Nación, a Maduro, Vicepresidente.
Did you like that? Very emotional. So, something's going on here in Latin America. It's not happening in the United States as much. There's an emotional connection that countries are having with their presidents, particularly with women. Latin America is electing more female presidents than any other part of the world. I believe that we in the United States can learn a lot from the women elected in Latin America. More of an emotional connection, more of a connection to the voters. We are limited in the U.S. to a very different type of advertising. We do some of these videos, like you just saw, but most of our communication is limited to 30-second ads on television, which are very expensive, and 30-second and 15-second digital pre-roll. It's a very difficult medium in which to connect and have an emotional relationship with voters. In 2008, there were a number of different women pollsters who were very upset, both on the Republican side and on the Democratic side, at the loss of Hillary Clinton in the presidential primary against Barack Obama. So they ended up doing a study. They wanted to find out more about voters in the United States and how they felt about a female candidate. And they came up with some very interesting findings that they called the double bind. And the double bind means that women in the U.S. in particular are challenged with a unique problem. They use 3 factors in sort of considering candidates. Is a candidate qualified for the office? Is a candidate tough enough to do the job? And is a candidate likable enough? Is he or she someone that you want to have a beer with, sit down and have a meal with, you want to interact with, have an emotional connection? And they found something interesting out. When voters in the U.S. considered male candidates, a male candidate needed to be qualified for the job. A male candidate needed to be tough enough to handle the job. But a male candidate did not have to be that likable. You didn't have to like the guy in order to elect him. The women, on the other hand, women candidates have a double bind. They have to be qualified for the job. They have to be tough enough for the job, and they have to be likable. And this became a big problem.
La conferencia está llevándose en inglés y nos dieron chats internos. Yo pedí el de alemán, pero no había, entonces me tocó el de español. Entonces está transmitiéndose nativo en inglés y nos están retransmitiendo a nosotros en... Y no traje, hubiese sabido, traigo un cable 1.1 y lo transmito, entonces les toca aguantarse. Ya viene JJ Rendón en breve y no sé, igual la voy a terminar de grabar y luego será que Mari en casa la traduce y cuelgo los subtítulos o algunos apartes después que pueda descargar el vídeo. Aquí estoy. Me están criticando en Colombia porque estoy hablando un poco mexicano, solo llevo 10 acá, no es falta de identidad cultural. Me pasó cuando anduve con mis amigos de Guadalajara también. No sé a qué se debe, me siento orgullosamente colombiano, antioqueño, bajo caucano por demás. Pero no sé, no lo hago adrede tampoco. Ya cuando llega allá me pongo de nuevo ribereño y sabanerito, creo. Los dejo entonces, seguimos con la conferencia de Ann Jones. Va en inglés, luego estaremos traduciendo y en breve pues viene la de JJ Rendón, no se la pueden perder. Igual está mostrando aunque la conferencia es en inglés, está mostrando unos sketches en español de algunos comerciales, de algunas propagandas de Michelle Bachelet, de Cristina de Kirchner, de Gina Raimondo. Entonces ahí vamos viendo. Si alguna cosita me están escribiendo, estoy también conectado desde el Twitter o desde el Facebook. Ahí ya lo voy a dejar.
Remember what arrogance and fear is mean for us? I'm Gina Raimondo, and I was proud to help bring Narragansett back. Now it's a top-selling beer again. I've helped create over 1,000 jobs, from high-tech to making beer. Now I'm running the government with a plan to bring manufacturing jobs back to Rhode Island and the experience to get it done. Let's get Rhode Island back to work.
What is it with political girls in the U.S. here? But anyways, let's look at her next ad and see if she's likable.
I know what it's like to have someone save your life twice. And my children and I escaped my violent husband, foster children, promised to stay. And when I was severely beaten by a landlord, the Rhode Island Crime Victims Fund helped me recover. Gina Raimondo helped expand the foster shelter. And as treasurer, she fixed the Crime Victims Fund. It had a 900-case backlog. Gina saved my life twice.
So Gina Raimondo is definitely qualified for the job of governor of Rhode Island. She was definitely tough enough, but her advertising did all the work to try and make her likable, so that she was caring. A little different than the Latin American leaders, but still the same kind of approach, trying to become more likable. Let's look at another candidate. This is a Republican. I work in the Democratic Party, but I feel it's only fair to show a little bit of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Many in my party do not want to see women elected into the Republican Party. I sort of disagree with them. I feel like more women is better. And let's get some, I think our Republican Party in the United States would operate better, would have, I think, more cooperation with us Democrats if we had more women in the Republican Party. So I'm all for them. A little different than many of my colleagues in my country. The next candidate that we have is Joni Ernst. She's a very interesting character in U.S. politics who sort of came out of nowhere in this last election. She's a unique character in that she spent her childhood growing up on a small farm in Iowa, feeding hogs and cattle. She served 21 years in the Army Reserve and the National Guard. She has a military background. She spent 14 months in Kuwait as a company commander in Operation Iraqi Freedom. She's currently a lieutenant colonel in the Iowa Army National Guard. She was elected to the Iowa Senate in a special election in 2011, and then in 2012 she was reelected. So here she is a state senator. In 2013, she decided she's going to run for the United States Senate. That, in our country, is a big leap. And she decided to do it. She won with 52% of the vote, and it was the most expensive United States Senate race in history so far. Now, I know money is a little different in our country versus others. $79 million, all told, was spent to elect Joni or defeat her. $79 million US dollars. Let's look. Before I play this next ad, a little bit of translation about Joni Ernst. She worked at a farm when she was growing up. Part of the job on the farm was to castrate pigs, right? In the US, we call government waste, we call the extra money in government and in bureaucracy, we call that political pork, right? Kind of pig fat. So this might be the first and only ad in the United States that uses castration and pork together in one ad. Let's play that ad.
I'm Joni Ernst. I grew up castrating hogs on an Iowa farm. So when I get to Washington, I'll know how to cut them.
Joni Ernst.
It's time to force Washington to do the same. To cut wasteful spending, bring them along here, and balance the budget. I'm Joni Ernst, and I approve this message because Washington's full of big spenders. Let's make this real.
Kind of silly, kind of fun, but gets the point across. Makes her likable, right? A military woman, a woman who took on a big job, Betty said she shouldn't have taken on that leap, and yet she makes us laugh, it makes us comfortable. She emotionally connected with us.
I feel that our country is at a critical juncture, and I don't like the direction that we're headed.
Joni is Washington's always spending, supporting families, and drive our economy to growth and
this election, it really is coming down to leadership and bringing people together is doing what's right for us.
I'm Joni Ernst, and I approve this message.
So Joni Ernst will be the first female in the United States Senate from the state of Iowa in our history, and she will be the first female veteran entering into the U.S. session. That is a big deal where I come from. So look, these women candidates are trying to make this emotional connection in the U.S. a little bit more like the Latin American leaders. And of course, that sort of brings us to the next question of Hillary Clinton, right? And the question of whether or not she will run for president, and whether or not she might too learn from these women who have now gone before her as candidates in the 2014 election and created a little bit more of an emotional connection with their voters. Hillary Clinton, nobody knows what she's doing, but she's a unique character in our country's history. She's the wife of Bill Clinton, obviously, right? She's the former First Lady of the United States. She's a mother and a grandmother. She's been a U.S. Senator. She's been a former presidential candidate, a former Secretary of State of the United States, and potentially our next president. Time will tell if she will run. But I have a lot of questions. Will she learn from her previous race? Will she learn from some of these women who have run in 2014 about this double bind? They need to be qualified, they need to be tough, and they need to be likable by many. If she runs, who's going to run against her? We don't know. They're all questions yet to be answered. If she does run, however, she probably will run and add, let's do this one. Let's watch the rest.
My father served in the Navy and ran a small business. My mother taught Sunday school and took care of us. I come from Park Ridge, Illinois, benefiting from all their hard work and sacrifice. I carry with me not just their dreams, but the dreams of people like them all across our country. People who embrace hard work and opportunity, who never waver in the face of adversity, who never stop believing in the promise of America. It's a promise I intend to keep. I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
Is she likable? Let's see, right? I hope so. So when it comes to electing women to office, we in the U.S. and also in Latin America, I believe we still have a lot more work to do. But I think we're learning more and more every election cycle what works better. It's not just in elective office that we need to do more to promote women. In the business sector, we need to do the same. In Latin America, we have less than 7% of women sit on corporate boards. And in the US, it's only about 20%. More needs to be done in the business community as well as the political community to promote more women into positions of power. I think there's a number of things that we can do to help to elect more women. Let's take a look. We can look beyond these quotas and the numbers and help to promote women into positions of leadership regardless of the quotas, and move them up into the ranks in political parties, right? We need to encourage women's voices and perspectives. Let them have a voice at all the decision-making tables of their lives. We need societal and cultural evolutions to occur. I'm sorry to say that I think we got to put some of that cheese whiz put aside, yeah? We can do that. Men need to empower women. That includes all of you husbands and fathers and sons and brothers to get more women into the process, to interest them in the political campaigns that are in front of them in their future. We need to hire more women into positions of power. And what else? We need to get women involved early, even as they're young girls, and get them involved in campaigns. Get them interested in public policy. Talk about it at the breakfast and dinner table. Give women the microphone and let them have a voice in their daily lives. Provide more training for women. like this, but other training unique to just women, encouraging them to run. We need more mentors. Those of you who are women in positions of power, women who are in your political parties, women who are elected officials, you need to look back and bring up the next generation and teach them how to also enter into political positions. And I think the most important thing that we need to do is ask. We need to ask women to run and to be involved. Next slide. I used to work for an organization in the United States called Emily's List. Emily's List is an acronym. It stands for Early Money is Like Yeast. Early money is like yeast. It does what? It helps the dough rise. It helps the money rise. And this is an organization that helped women get elected all across the country. And the number one reason that women said that they did not feel like running is that they were never asked when they were younger. And if they had only been asked, it had only been something to think about as they went through their lives, they might have considered running for office. And so at Emily's List, we decided to just ask everyone and make sure that women across the country, when they were growing up and starting their families and starting their careers, that they would also think about getting involved in politics early in their life and throughout their life. And so we created a video of elected officials. Because I go around my country and I encourage women to run and I ask them to run. And I'm never going to run for political office. I'm always going to be behind the scenes. And so I decided to find elected officials from all various walks of life and all various offices and have them do a video asking these women to run for office. And starting their careers. They could also think about getting involved in politics early in their life and throughout their life.
I ran for the Nevada State Assembly.
I ran for the State House. I ran for Congress. I ran for all of this. They all have different backgrounds, different priorities and passions. We have one thing in common. They ran and they won.
I was Emily's List, very close.
And I was one of Emily's List most recent one.
Watch out for Lucy.
I hope I can accomplish something.
Lucy, I know you can do it.
Women who won, they all started somewhere, just like me. Before I ran for office, I was a community organizer.
I worked in healthcare, serving the Middle East.
Small business. I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood. We struggle too. There's a notion that you have to fit a certain mold to left in every office. That's not true. Running for office was not anything that was under success. We need women from all kinds of backgrounds. We are ahead. We live in the house. We cover. The first time, I wasn't sure I could win. I told me I couldn't win. I never done anything like this. I ran for the county commission.
I ran for state representative.
I ran for governor, lost that, but got back in the game. I ran.
I don't even have legs, and I ran.
I won. And I won too. Sometimes I feel like I won. When I was down in the polls, and nobody else believed in me, Emily's List.
Emily's List was there at the very start of my campaign, sitting at my kitchen table.
We started a political opportunity program. Emily's List. It recruits women to run and trains them to run. Being a part of Emily's List isn't being a part of a family. Federal, state, local, it's about creating opportunity at every level. Stephanie came to my house to encourage me to run. We trained thousands of women and supported hundreds of youth. Emily's List is training. Emily's List has boots on the ground.
Emily's List is there every single step of the way.
Women in office make a difference for our daughters and for our sons. Women's issues are front and center.
I'm working to strengthen our economy,
To make higher education more affordable.
and create jobs.
Someone else. Suit up. I want to make everybody more efficient. Where are your shoulders? More accountable. What's your hips going? Such playful, equal eggs, equal work. When women run, we always win. Women are more than 50% of the U.S. population, but far less than that. We need more women running for everyone. More women mayors, more women governors, for the House of Representatives, in the United States Senate President. Is this country ready for women? Heck yeah. You name it, we have a long way.
No fondo, nada natural.
It's not a you. Then who? I'm asking you to run. You can do it. We need more women.
take that risk. You can run for office.
Luego que sabes, tocando la
You need all of them. I'm going to stand. Grabbing your seat. No walking. Run. Come on. More women run, more women win. And that's what it's all about. At Endless, we're asking you to run. There's no better time than now. Look, I believe this is very important work. I wouldn't still be doing this 25 years later. If I was only doing it for 3 years, those few boys and some pizza. I believe what we do is important. I believe it's rewarding, fulfilling work. But I also believe that if we work hard to make our government bodies look more like our countries, it becomes even more rewarding. I wish you much success in all of your campaigns. I look forward to meeting as many of you throughout this. Thank you very much.
No, dijeron que no. ¿Me acuerdas?
Tenía una muy buena pregunta.
No, estás descartado porque vas a hacer una conferencia, la pregunta para hacerte notar. Aquí es donde recuerdo que dejé el conector de mi...
Y con toda su experiencia, ¿quién tiene que convencer al pueblo o no?
Chicos, 4% de la batería, eso se va a acabar. Les voy a pasar a Oyuki para que les haga una breve reseña de 1 minuto al respecto mientras viene la otra conferencia.
Hola, buenas tardes. Les voy a hablar un poquito de la conferencia de Ann Liston, en la cual trata de mujeres y poder. Ella menciona que en América Latina solamente 7% de los candidatos o de las personas que ocupan un escaño actualmente son mujeres. Ella nos platica un poco de cómo poder empoderar a la mujer, cómo poderle dar esa confianza y cómo empezar a abrirle espacio. Ella nos dice que debemos de fomentar desde nuestros perfiles perspectivas de género para poder ir empoderando a la mujer e involucrarla en las políticas públicas. También menciona algo muy curioso, que es cómo las mujeres se han abierto paso gracias a otras mujeres que llegaron anteriormente a ellas. Ella nos platica la importancia de los comerciales y pues en general nos habla de nosotros como mujeres irnos involucrando en las políticas públicas, en los programas públicos, y ya me puse nerviosa.
Bueno, sí, básicamente Ann habla de tener una novedad, de que las mujeres también pueden participar en política. Nos gustó mucho la frase donde ella cita a Bachelet, que dice: cuando una mujer entra en política, cambia la mujer, pero cuando varias mujeres entran a la política, cambia la política. Ya va a empezar JJ, esta batería se acabó, pero aquí tengo mi otro recurso. Aquí está la cámara y entonces voy a grabar y enseguida lo subo mientras consigo un cargador. Los dejo y ya empieza JJ, les voy a dar una imagen de JJ llegando.
Sí, ya. Okay. Bueno, antes que todo, quiero aclarar que no sé quién es el autor de este libro y no soy el autor del libro. Es un error de la lectura del currículum, de muchos ejemplos. Así que se parece, si está el autor aquí o si ya se llega por favor, mi disculpa y directa al autor.
Bueno, esto se puede acabar en cualquier momento porque tiene 2% de batería y dejé en el hotel el cargador. Pero estoy grabando desde la cámara y enseguida se lo subo. Ahí lo dejo hasta que esta vaina se apague.
Y segundo parte, yo soy el que colombiano que dirán, bueno, nada que reconozco, de acuerdo, la verdad que ya al final del día termina siendo toda Latinoamérica. De Colombia, Cartagena, gobernador. De México, todo México, no puedo decir que me gusta más el norte, que me gusta más el sur. Es un país que he recorrido durante los últimos 12, 13, 14 años ya. Conozco por lo menos 120, 130 cabeceras municipales personalmente. Y me queda conozco porque pasé un ratito, comí, hice una música, me reuní con la gente, me paré de testigo en los paraderos de tacos, de la carretera, de cada carretera, y tengo un profundo amor por México. No comía picante, cuando llegué aquí ahora no puedo viajar sin chile, no tomaba tequila, cuando tomo tequila me cae bien. No me embriago, pero cuando tomo tequila. Y adoro profundamente este país. Llegué a este país de manos del PRI, yo llegué manita y papelita, pero estoy agradecido con que le dieron un paso. Yo sigo siendo, al margen de las contrataciones y al margen de los acuerdos, agradecido con quien me da oportunidades en la vida. Y estoy agradecido no solamente con quienes me la dieron, sino quienes me acompañaron en esos retos en cada parte. Yo quiero hacer mucho énfasis sobre mi profundo apego, agradecimiento a México y cómo me duele cuando le pasan cosas fuertes a México. No voy a entrar en detalles, porque para todos los consultores que están aquí, este es el único país de América Latina donde los consultores no pueden hablar de política mexicana. Pero tenemos claro. El artículo, que es el artículo 23 de la Constitución Mexicana, que prohíbe la participación y la emisión de opiniones sobre la política mexicana, es una forma de participación, que claro, que refresca la cumbre, que va bien hasta ahora. 2, ser consultor, hacer encuestas, hacer training, lo que sea, eso se considera trabajo técnico, electoral, de gobierno, asesoría, eso no se constituye en una forma directa de participación política. Para aquellos que les gusta todavía usar ese argumento que hicieron contra mí en 2000, hubo controversia constitucional, se analizó, mi visa dice consultor político, estratega general, de gobierno y campaña, mi FM3 mexicano. Todos los que están aquí, extranjeros que tienen FM3 en México, lo tuvieron después de ese FM3, que fue la primera vez que un consultor político le dieron espacio y tuvo su visa y se empezó a reconocer. Esto no existía. Yo lo felicito a los que están, pero sobre todo a Daniel no está bien. Porque al equipo que está haciendo esto, porque esto es inédito. Esta cantidad de gente, creo que gente de Monterrey alguna vez hizo una cosa, a la COP alguna vez hizo algo, pero nunca es de tamaño. Y nunca con la calidad de gente que hay aquí. Yo conozco mucha gente, diputados, gobernadores, senadores, jefes de partido, vicepresidentes, secretarios de Estado, coordinadores de asesores. Y la política mexicana, para lo que no saben, es cosa seria. Aquí cuando viene esto es porque no vino a lo tonto, para no decir la palabra que me gustaría usar. Vino porque le dijeron, vaya, vea,